Hi, and welcome to Mediumship Sparks, the next chapter. I'm Noelle, your host, intuitive medium, and licensed mental health therapist. This is the introduction to a three-part series called Am I Crazy or Connected? And crazy is very intentionally in air quotes. I'm not using it literally. I'm speaking to the fear so many people have when they begin to see, hear, or feel things that they can't explain. The fear of losing touch with reality or the fear of discovering a serious mental health issue can come up when we experience things that we don't understand. The other side of that fear is another possibility. What if what you're experiencing is actually a spiritual connection or awakening? For many people, it is not easy to tell the difference, certainly at first. Spiritual awakenings can vary. Some are slow and gentle, some start in childhood, and some feel like a sudden crash into a world of sensations you've never had context for before. For children, especially, even benign or positive spiritual perceptions can feel terrifying simply because they're unfamiliar. This three-part series is a replay from the first season of Mediumship Sparks, and it felt really important to bring it back now because it speaks directly to that place where mental health and mediumship overlap, and an area that I tend to sit in as a therapist and a medium. Like many people, I've asked myself the question, am I losing it? Holy crap, am I crazy now? When new intuitive experiences open up, again, the unfamiliar can feel scary, especially when it's happening in your own head. I'm grateful, very, that my awakening happened slowly over time rather than all at once, because that sudden intensity can be overwhelming. And I don't know how I could have dealt with that very well or easily. Some people experience what is called a spiritual emergency, where it can look very similar to a psychological crisis, and sorting that out can require psychological and professional support. Before we go any further, here is my disclaimer. The information in the podcast is educational in nature and is not psychological or medical advice, nor is it a substitute for seeking licensed healthcare services. If you are having experiences that feel like mediumship or experiences you may worry might be psychosis, please seek an evaluation from a licensed mental health professional so you can discern what's happening with clarity and support and get the help that you need either way. New mediums could really benefit from speaking with those that have been experiencing those same kind of phenomenon for a while, and it would give you a direction to look into. Now, what inspired this series was a conversation with a friend whose son was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I realized that although I'd worked in mental health, I'd never really closely worked with anyone that experienced active psychosis in the way somebody who would have the diagnosis of schizophrenia would have. And I had my own ignorance and nervousness around it. That changed when I met Scott, who you'll meet shortly. Our conversation was honest, eye-opening, unexpectedly easy, and flowed well. We had full moments where our worlds overlapped in a lot of surprising and fun ways. We were both struck by the similarities between some of his experiences and mine, while also acknowledging that there were differences. Schizophrenia isn't only about seeing or hearing things. It also involves, just so you know, symptoms like disorganized thinking, disorganized or blunted speech, difficulties with emotional expression, and challenges with distinguishing internal versus external stimuli. Those pieces matter, and they're part of what make the difference clinically. What surprised me was talking with other mediums and asking them where do they see the line is between somebody with schizophrenia and a medium. And every one of them said the same thing. They didn't see that there was a difference. The only thing they alluded to was that they saw somebody who experienced those phenomenon that might have the diagnosis of schizophrenia as somebody who maybe doesn't have, let's say, energetic boundaries, or isn't grounded, or the context that they have for those experiences might be really negative. A neuropsychologist that I know talked about that she saw the real difference was that people with schizophrenia, the experience, now they have other symptoms, but I'm just talking about the hallucination part, that some of that could be that what they attract into their energy, if their vibration is low, and this is not a judgment about them, but that being wide open, having no sense of boundaries, and whatever kind of entity or energy walks by gets to come in, including those with really negative intentions. Like that kind of low vibration could really mess a person up. After speaking with Scott, I understood what they meant. It made a lot more sense to me in talking to him. And there's a long version of this story and how I recorded it in the first series. I added quite a chapter about my experience as I connected with Scott, and then also the entity that we called Omar in the video. And a lot of things unfolded for about the next month and a half after I met Scott the first time. When preparing for the conversation with Scott, I became connected with this entity. And then during the time we were filming and then thereafter. At first, the entity felt cooperative, protective over Scott, which seemed endearing in its own way, kind of funny, and seemed willing, based on what he shared with me, to want to actually help people. Maybe people like Scott. As I say that, the analogy that came to me was it would be like the big bad wolf starting to meet with the pigs to come up with organizing themselves to start to build sturdier structures. You probably should question the big bad wolf if he's the one doing that, because he's the one who's blowing stuff down. But anyway, I let my boundaries way down. I didn't really question his intention or how much he was contacting me. And I could feel the boundaries like disintegrating over time. It was very naive of me to do that. It was very arrogant of me to do that, thinking that I was fine and I wasn't really questioning what was happening. And I'm sharing this because discernment and good boundaries in mediumship, in life, are just so important, whether it's entities, energies, neighbors, friends, and family, including ourselves. So I'm sharing this because I'd love for you to learn from my missteps and not make the same mistake, or at least not make my mistake. It also gave me a lot more compassion and empathy for Scott and people like Scott, children who, when their sense of self is even forming, imagine somebody steps in and they're very enmeshed with that person. You really do learn to live life with that blurred line between you and them, where you can't even tell the difference. And I was genuinely at the cusp of not being able to tell what was Omar in my head and what was me. And honestly, it was a bit terrifying to lose that sense of myself that I've worked very hard to have. So if you're watching this and it's because you're trying to understand your own experiences, I hope this series brings you clarity, compassion, and insight. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or frightened by what you're experiencing, please talk to a mental health professional. If you let them know that part of your worldview includes being able to communicate with those on the other side, but what you're experiencing now, you really can't tell if it's that, might be helpful to share that context with them so they can support you appropriately. There is help, and you do not have to sit alone or sit in fear by yourself. With all of that said, I am honored to reshare this conversation with you. I hope you find it insightful, validating, and heart-opening. So here is part 1 of Am I Crazy or Connected? Let's dig in. Hello and welcome to Mediumship Sparks. I'm your host, Noelle Dean. So big trigger warning on today's episode. We're talking about some deep stuff, and we're not holding back here.
Yeah. Looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to it.
Good.
Actually, so.
Yeah, me too. So everybody, this is my guest, Scott.
Hello.
Do you want to say a little bit about yourself, Scott?
Not much. I like playing video games, reading. I used to write a lot of poetry, used to create my own music as a kind of an outlet for things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty relaxed guy, and I will protect those I care about, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I hope I'm that way too. I met Scott through his father.
Yep.
And Scott has a diagnosis that I find fascinating because I was sitting with what, as a therapist and a medium, could I bring to the show that would be of value, very specific for my set of skills. And it was to understand something that I think impacts everybody who hears things or sees things that other people don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I get a lot of information also. A couple of years ago, I had a sense that I was supposed to write a book helping people like self-evaluate or
Yeah, do self check-ins
Thank you.
kind of thing.
Yeah. When they are having spiritual experiences, because the first thing is, oh crap, what if I'm crazy?
Yeah. Am I going crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you
that's usually
that's the question, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the big one everybody asks when they start that kind of,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend who is also a therapist
Hmm.
and a newer medium, had her spiritual awakening about 2, 3 years ago.
Okay.
And we spent a lot of time as she was going through that. She didn't share a lot about what had happened. I talked to her recently. Oh, hey, it occurred to me I should do this as a podcast episode. So let me ask you, knowing that she's more well read than I am about things, what's the difference between a medium and somebody with schizophrenia? Where's the line kind of thing? And she said, do you know what she said? She said, there is no line.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Like, really, I was like, she blew my mind. And I think she might have had to say it like 6 times.
I honestly, really, I think it comes down to the way people's brains are wired, whether
Okay.
they're able to tap into certain things that other people aren't more often than others, or maybe you're just meant for a different purpose or something. That's why your brain is wired that way. Or 'cause I've been struggling with schizophrenia since I was about 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when my symptoms started. I started seeing, he introduced himself, Omar.
Ah, we have to
That's
talk about Omar.
yes, so that's yes. That's
Yeah.
interesting character.
Do you want to talk about him now or do you want to
Oh,
wait?
fine. But now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What happened was Scott and I started the recording. We were just doing like a little test run and it kept not
Trying to do a little test run.
and it kept not recording. And I was like, that's weird.
4, 5, 6 times. Yeah.
I think we did it like 5 times.
Yeah.
And then I asked Scott, wait, do electronics misbehave in your company? Because that seems
yeah, most of the time, yeah.
And then I get a visual sense just in my mind's eye where I see whatever it is that I see of this like red figure, like actually a male energy. And
Yeah.
I would say characterized as a demon over in this right hand corner,
Yep.
just hanging out there. And I was nervous in doing this episode because I had heard that's the kind of thing that you see. And I was just like, oh,
yeah.
I was scared.
I know.
And by the way, Omar, and anyway, so I checked in about him.
Yeah.
And then we had to negotiate with him to let us record. My immediate sense was that he was looking to protect Scott. And then I swear he brought up HIPAA, which is, if you're not familiar, it's like privacy, basically. So we both had to
For him that, everything was
Yeah.
okay. We all worked it out, paperwork and everything, all that. Yep.
But it really did take five attempts to be able to record. So I'm glad we're recording now.
Definitely.
And I was going to say something else about Omar. Even just talking to you about him, I was wondering, how is it for you to have somebody else be like, oh, I totally see that?
It's actually comforting. To be honest, it's actually comforting for a feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
For a difference, for a change. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
But also interesting to me is I didn't get a feeling from you of there being an adversarial relationship.
Yeah, he's always just been there since I was a kid, so not always fully there. Sometimes just a little quick something in the corner of your eye, but it was always enough that you would know it was usually him. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for the most part. Yeah.
Now, is there anything else that has been as constant as Omar?
Yeah, actually, I see these. Sometimes I see these little, they look like cats almost, but they've got 2 tails that kind of twirl. Yeah. And they tend to roam around sometimes.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, those are my 2 constants.
And when you say constant every day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Several times a day. Not just every day, several times a day. Yeah.
Fair.
And sometimes episodes are worse than others. Sometimes they get, because I also struggle sometimes with voices. So there's that aspect. And my brain never slows down. It's just like constant motion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sleeping.
Exhausting. Yeah.
Sleeping is rough. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sleeping is rough sometimes. But I've made it through over the years. And thanks to people like you, therapists and stuff like that, it's been great. And it's really helped having a support system too. That's one of the big helps. And that's why when you offered me the opportunity to come on here, I mulled it over and I thought, even if I can just reach out to 1 or 2 people, that's worth it.
Yeah. So it's interesting as I'm sitting here, I don't know how much this has come across in anything I've recorded, but of all the different senses that I use to pick up information, clear empathy, so really feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just feels like intensity and it'll make my face cry, but sometimes it's just like pride or love.
Yeah, just
Sometimes it's sadness.
yeah, just something, a little something washing over you. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm feeling that right now. And what I'm picking up from Omar is that he's saying about you that you are feeling cared about.
Yes.
And to me, that feels from him like love.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. Because there have been times over the years where I felt like I was not so much against him, but he had something against someone I was around or something I was doing or something like that. So because he's always been in my life since I was 11.
Pardon my ignorance, because I've got a lot of it around this, because I worked with clients, but
Right.
I was saying earlier when we were together that I hadn't really worked with anybody who had what would be considered psychotic features. So I would also call it clairvoyance, but we would also call those visual hallucinations,
Correct.
which would be under the category of psychotic features.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have expected you to feel victimized by Omar, but I'm not hearing that right
Yeah,
now.
no, because he's just been there for so long that it's really just become a part of my life, I guess you could say. It's just something that, okay, he's there so much that it's just second nature that he's just there.
He's giving me the word guardian.
Wouldn't surprise me, considering most of the time he's usually around when things are stressful. He'll really show up during times like that. Times of high emotion, which is another thing I really struggle with.
Mm,
My mood swings from really depressed to really happy.
gotcha.
I can get angry at the drop of a hat. I can cry at the drop of a hat. It's a struggle, but
Yeah, that's a roller coaster and a half. So.
yeah. Like I said, it's good to have support systems and know that I feel like I'm really helping others by sitting here with you and doing
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah. And I hope this doesn't feel shitty, but
oh no.
wait, I'm not there yet though.
Oh, okay. I was like, no, not at all.
Hopefully not. And I know you know this already, but when people start experiencing like hearing things and seeing things, their fear is to have the diagnosis you have.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, that's a lot of how society is. Mental health, even though mental health has made a lot of progress in the past 10, 15 years, it's still one of those kind of hit and miss depending on the doctor you get, depends on whether it's still one of those kind of shh, don't talk about it things. And it's, oh, you have depression, okay, you have ADHD, okay. When you start getting into the more severe cases, that's when it really gets more hush.
And as we're sitting here, I wasn't expecting this to happen this way, but I feel like Omar is like really tuned into me. And I don't remember if I already mentioned this once we started actually recording, but I did feel like checked out by him quite a few times actually in the last like 2 weeks since we talked about recording. So we've negotiated a little bit
Right.
and I had to move his energy out of my house.
Okay.
He's not the only one, but that happened recently. But even in this moment, I'm just feeling this thing in my head since you talked about your emotions going up and down. And I'm just feeling, I want to say like a heaviness. I don't want to overstate it, but do you have something that
Yeah, I used to suffer migraines.
Oh,
Horrid migraines on my left side, to the point where I'd actually lose pretty much all my vision in my left eye. I'd get
Gotcha.
pinhole vision.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And it's almost like it's almost like I would start feeling dizzy or something. Like
yeah.
my eyes are getting weird. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna reframe this positively. Thank you, Omar, for providing some general
Information.
reinforcement
Yeah.
and information that we're on the right track here and we're
Yeah.
connecting. And I did tell Omar that he would have his say. And I think after that, he agreed and let us start recording
Which is nice.
and stopped interfering with the electronics. So we're going to have, Omar's going to have his say. We'll
Yeah,
see
yeah,
what he wants
yeah.
to talk about. But okay.
Crazy. Which is today's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you define crazy? How do you feel about that word? And do you consider yourself crazy in general?
Honestly, I think the word crazy, when you say someone's crazy, it's just such a used term these days. So that, oh, the person cut me off on the road. That person's crazy. It's just such a used term that even my brother and I joke around when I'm having a shit day. Like, hey, I'm having a little crazy today. Yeah, it's the word crazy, I think, is old hat, I
Yeah.
guess would be I guess the proper term I would say would be just someone who's just chemically or wired different somehow, or it can touch into other parts of their brain that others can't. That's why we're like you and I. That's probably why we're able to see and do what we're able to do. But yeah, the word crazy, I think it's an old hat word, but it does still carry weight, especially when if they do find out they're schizophrenic or anything like that.
Yeah.
Their first probably reaction and thought in their head is, "Oh, great, I'm crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I am crazy." Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I still struggle with it. In fact, there have been times where on 3 different attempts where I've actually tried to take my life because things have just gotten so out of hand I didn't know it was Omar at the time. I was like 12, 13, and the voices and everything else. It was just too much stimulation for little old me,
Yeah. So just when you mentioned that, he's showing me a rope.
Yeah, one time I tried to hang myself, once I tried to slit my wrist, and then the other time I tried to overdose. So yeah, it's been a life of struggles. I've been
Yeah.
hospitalized 7 or 8 times. So
Actually, that's not a lot.
I
How
know,
old are you?
37. Yeah,
I
that's
can't do the math in 26 years.
yeah,
That's a long time. And
yeah,
Omar, I'm going to ask you to take away the energy around my eye, please.
yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you. I hear you about that. And I agree that crazy, it's like a lot of other words. There are
Yeah,
times when it can be meant in a really nasty way,
and
and times
others
when
it's
it's
just a silly, like you're
right.
hanging out with a
Yeah.
friend or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like there are times when things are very kicked up, and maybe in those moments you might feel crazy.
Yeah, you really do because there's just such an overwhelming feeling of emotion.
Mm,
The brain is not slowing down. You're seeing things, you're hearing things. It's just
mm.
a bombardment of overstimulation from every angle. Sometimes it just is so overwhelming. It's like a tidal wave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And I really sat with the word crazy. When I first moved to San Diego, I started going to this class, which was a mediumship development circle. I had no idea if I would see, feel, hear, or know anything,
Happen. Yeah.
but things would come through. And when I first started seeing just a little bit, sometimes there were things that were happening physically in that group.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm actually seeing it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I saw like a whole Native American woman in full gear, like her energy on this other person who
Exactly.
was in the group. It was beautiful. And I remember I saw this cat. There was a stairwell and it had a landing. And I see the outline of a cat writhing around, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
But I remember, so that was perfect for that. It was
Yeah.
encouraging, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, and this was like years later, I'm sitting in my office at work and I see this cat out of the corner of my eye.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh shit. Oh no. Because
Yep. And then that word pops in your head.
yes, to me, it's, oh, the thing about being, quote, crazy would be like it's out of control.
Correct.
It was out of context.
Correct.
And am I losing my sense of what's real?
Reality. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I need to somehow ground myself again, or what's
Something.
yeah.
And it's scary. And I still have moments. So I really work on developing my
Yeah.
mediumship all the time. Really, I take classes, I practice every day. And so new things come about,
Of course.
new experiences.
Oh yeah.
And then there are times when I'm just, and I still have moments where I'm just like, was joking with my husband. He thinks that I'm doing something when he's not home that I can't do when he's home. And the truth is, I just really feel his energy so much. It's really hard for me to do mediumship and concentrate in the space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then I also realized, oh, you know what else I've been doing? I've been talking more out loud to whoever I'm talking to. And I don't want to do that in front of him because I'm afraid how I'm going to look to him is crazy.
Yeah, I've had
Yeah.
full-blown conversations with myself. Even to this day. In fact, the other day on Xbox, I was talking to my best friend
Mhm.
who's in Georgia, and I just started to have a full-blown conversation with myself. And he's, "Are you okay there, buddy?" I said, "Oh, was I doing it again?"
Was I doing that out loud?
Yeah, was I doing that out loud? He's like, yeah, you good? I'm like, yeah, thanks for snapping me back.
But here's a question. Who were you actually talking to?
Honestly, I don't know. The voices in my head, whether male or female,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll start conversing with, or at least I think they're conversing with me, and I'll just start answering and
Yeah.
responding and having a full-blown conversation. And
You're not actually talking to yourself, though.
right,
Well,
but no
he's
one
really
else,
doing this
no one
thing with
else.
my eyes. I have to turn towards you.
Oh,
Okay.
what?
Yes. Sorry. It's yeah.
Okay.
I did ask him to back off a little bit, but look, I hear you. When I pick up on voices or an energy, I don't always know who it is. In fact, I have asked. I'm afraid to say, "Oh, let me see who's around
Yeah,
me."
because sometimes,
I don't want
yeah, do you really want to know the answer to what you're asking and talking to? You got to really make that call to yourself.
And thank you for saying that. Yes. And I guess there's a small part of me, and I don't know why I fear this because I don't have this issue, but I guess I'm afraid I won't be able to turn it off if I start seeing. And goodness knows what there is to see.
Yeah, there's a lot to see out there, actually. There is a lot.
Yeah. Question about Omar. The word, so as I was just saying that, I just get this awareness of him. And there's this mask, and I get the word facade actually, that he could take off.
Yes, I guess you could consider him my mask because crazy being so stigmatized, having especially such a severe mental condition, illness,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Things like that over the years have he's I've had to put on masks for people. In front of my parents, in
Sure.
front of some school, you know.
Yeah.
But you're sitting alone there in your room by yourself, and he shows up, or some other creature, critter.
Yeah.
It's a little unnerving when 11 till I was about 14-ish. I just thought I was off my rocker,
Yeah.
just completely. I didn't think there was any coming back. But coming to terms with, I see them, they're there.
Yeah.
They talk to me, I talk to them. And as long as it stays that way and nothing else happens, I'm okay with it. So
Has it like stabilized in that way?
over the years, yeah, it really has stabilized. A lot of it also has to do with stress, like emotion again. Depends
Yeah.
on the severity of the situations and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, it's just such a part of my life now that I'm 37, and that's, yeah, 26 years. So
That's pretty much your whole life.
life, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just honestly, it's just second nature. There are times where it does feel like I'm lost and hopeless. In fact,
Mm.
for the longest time, I used to struggle with night terrors and nightmares.
Mm.
Me being ripped apart by creatures at night,
Oh,
screaming
gosh.
for help, and no one's there, but the blackness. Yeah, there
Wow.
are times where you can get lost at sea, I guess you could say. But knowing that they can not con you, they can convince you
Yeah.
if they bombard you enough to do something stupid. But
Mm.
if you're able to reach out or to anybody, or even just try and sit and meditate and try and just connect with whatever's there and try and be like, listen, you're doing
Mhm.
this to me.
Okay.
Can we just bring it down a notch?
You
So
negotiate. You
try
try
to.
to. Okay.
Yeah, you try to do the best you
Wow.
can. Yeah.
So it's not just images. I mean, it
Actual,
sounds very much
it's
my
like as,
experience too.
yeah, it's as
Yeah.
if someone's actually standing in the room with you or there with you. Yeah.
It's like I don't want to say person because that feels weird.
Humanoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a being.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
looks
Ish.
humanish. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when I see what I see, I don't necessarily see, of course, now I say that and I see a full body of a man. Often I don't, or
Don't.
depending on the energetic being I'm connecting with,
Mm.
sometimes I just see like characteristics. I believe we
Yeah,
have
like
this,
features and yeah,
exactly.
not quite the full thing, but enough
Yeah,
to make yeah, that
like
makes sense.
distinctive things about them. Not often,
But
not
you could
a
pick up,
full
yeah,
human
but you could
being,
pick up on, yeah,
and consistently.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, that's how it started with me. So
Wow. Gosh, at 11 though.
yeah, 11, it was a bit tough.
Wow. Now, how did you I hope I asked this right, but so How did you know it wasn't just a spiritual awakening?
Honestly, I didn't, because I was so young. I didn't know what was happening.
Of
One
course.
of my first really bad episodes, my mom actually came into the room, stomping and kicking around the room, trying to get the things that I was seeing that she couldn't see out of the room. But then learning a couple years later that, yeah, they're there, but they can't really hurt you unless you are convinced that.
That's
So,
how, oh, okay. As I've been sitting in this, thinking
right.
about this conversation, I remembered I saw like this ER episode where they had somebody who was having a psychotic break, and it was terrifying to me at the time. So are you familiar with this episode?
Yeah, yeah. My dad used to
Oh,
watch ER all the
okay.
time. Yeah.
Scared the bejesus out of me that somebody that was psychotic would try to kill you. So it sounds from, if I'm applying that, which it was TV,
Yeah.
but if I'm applying that to what you're saying, because I just heard something else, a story about somebody who was basically stalked by somebody who said that they had psychosis, and then they held this person at knife point and they
Yeah.
ran over their own mother. And so
Yeah.
so when it's like succumbing to,
Yeah, basically letting everything override you. Basically letting everything else take control of you. You lose control of yourself.
and I was going to bring this up, the idea of agency.
Mm.
Agency. And that can be applied in
Yeah.
so many ways, right? Some people feel a great sense of agency over themselves, and they're that from like a young age.
Right.
So how would you, because you can't block Omar out, it seems.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
you tried to block him out?
Oh yeah, I've
Okay. I
over the
figured,
years,
just saying.
yeah, over the years I've tried many different things. Yeah.
Okay.
The best things that seem to help are distracting my brain
Mhm.
as much as possible. I normally do four things at one time when I'm on Xbox. I
Oh,
talk to my
wow.
friends, play video game, listen to music, and other things
So you
just
don't
to
leave
try and
room.
thwart
Okay.
anything to really take over and take control. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
Can I ask you, are you taking medication?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on like 8 or 10 different medications. It's a cocktail, but
Right.
if it keeps me
Yeah.
level-headed and down to earth as much as possible, as much
Yeah.
as I can be, I'm grateful for it.
Quality of life. Quality
Exactly,
of life. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
But even with medication, you totally see him.
yeah, yeah.
What does the medication accomplish?
The voices are one of the big ones. The voices can get so over, it can literally sound like someone screaming, like literally standing in your ear and
Oh
screaming in
my
it.
gosh.
But what the
Okay.
meds do is they bring it down to such a, I don't know about everyone with schizophrenia, but myself, it never is, I never know silence, true silence. So it's always some sort of white noise, but I'd take that over screaming any day. And
Okay.
Omar and the little creatures I see are really, I'll take that over being completely off meds and stuff and
Gotcha.
completely unhinged possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, medications do help and support systems and everything do too.
So one of the things that I found when I did do a little bit of research, I didn't do just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I found 4 medical articles, only 4, about people testing the difference between somebody who considers themselves having a spiritual awakening and somebody who's schizophrenic. And having a strong support system is one of those things, as well as it's like what you think about what you're experiencing. Like my friend I was mentioning,
right.
she saw some scary stuff, and she could go and talk to a friend about it, and she didn't isolate. She didn't feel like she let it overcome her, and then things really settled down. I'm not sure how she really got that part of it to happen. Setting energetic boundaries and that kind of thing was a big deal. Do you feel like setting energetic bound? Because I feel like that's something I have to do all the time. Even Omar coming to visit me,
Oh,
it's like
you
out,
should see
out.
the way my room's set up then, yeah. I try to be as feng shui as possible, try and keep the
Okay,
flow of energy as positive as possible.
gotcha.
Yeah.
What else do you have aside from feng shui?
What really helps me is making a space my own,
Okay.
feeling comfortable where I'm at, like where I'm gonna be, where I'm gonna just making little changes, even if it's just a room at a time. If you're gonna change a whole house, just do little bits here and there, and you'll be surprised at how much that's actually gonna help you.
Like the energy of the room shifted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if you don't do feng shui and you just change up a room once a year or something like that, just completely rearrange it. Whole nother energy into the room. So
Totally get that.
exactly. It puts that old energy out and brings a
Mhm.
whole nother energy in.
Yeah. We had to have some work on our house.
Mm.
And afterwards, I was just like, ugh.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It felt so, like new materials. And then we had a crew of people in the house.
Yeah, a bunch of people in and
Yeah.
out.
It was, it was really hard for me I was
Yeah, that
impacted
flow
more
of
than I
energy. I was gonna
expected.
say, yeah, that flow of energy is crazy. I know what that's like.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Mediumship Sparks. I truly believe that with mediumship, the only real limit is our imagination. If this podcast speaks to you, please rate and subscribe. If it could be useful to someone you care about, please share it. If you're interested in a reading or getting some support to navigate the spiritual path you're on or the one you want to be on, I offer a free consultation to discuss what you're looking for and how I can help. Learn more about my readings and classes at connectingwithnoelle.com. Subscribe on YouTube, Connecting with Noelle, for helpful videos and video podcast episodes. Take good care of yourself, and I look forward to being with you again soon.